Hi, this is Andy with wristadvisor.com, and today we have a very special review. We have a hands-on review of the Breitling Navitimer B01 43mm in the copper dial. And what's special about this review is this watch was not lent to us by any dealer. I purchased this watch almost a year ago, and I've been holding on to it for a while because I wanted to take my time with it, get the full ownership experience to be able to give you guys an honest, unbiased review of this watch. Now, there is a lot that I love, and there is some room for Breitling to make improvements. So let's go into the history of the Navitimer first. So anyone who's not familiar with this iconic pilot's watch can have an understanding of the historical part it's played in watchmaking. So in 1952, the AOPA, which is the U.S. Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, approached Willie Breitling about getting a watch that they can use that's useful in cockpits. So in the past, aviators had to use manual slide rules and other instruments to help guide their navigation. And they wanted something a little bit easier. At this time, divers were being released, there was Explorer watches, and pilots thought it was their turn to be able to get a watch that they can use out in the field. So Willie Breitling developed the Breitling Navitimer, put the slide rule bezel on it, but an interesting fact is that this is not the first Breitling with the slide rule bezel. It was the Chronomet that it was initially released with it. It didn't take off, so it obviously got moved to the Navitimer, but as you can see, this watch looks extremely similar to the one that was released in 1954 when they finally delivered it. And when they did, it was an instant success. In fact, this version was the one that came out in 2022, which marked the 70th anniversary of the Breitling getting introduced. Something else that's iconic about the Navitimer, and it's really what cemented Breitling's claim in watchmaking, is that this was the first chronograph to get an automatic movement into it. So in the past, it was either manual wound or it was quartz. Breitling developed it along with Hoyer to be able to fit the Navitimer with it. So let's go into my personal review with this. Like I said, I've been wearing this for about a year now. And out of all the watches in my collection, this is probably the one I've worn the most over the last year. And there's multiple reasons for it. But let's just get into the dial first. In 2022, Breitling released a bunch of new Navitimers with a lot of different colors. As you can see, this one is the copper dial, and I'm getting some really good shots in with the camera on this. Personally, I thought this one was the most outstanding. Now, it wasn't the most popular from, when you take a look at message boards and reading, everyone geeked out about that ice blue. Ice blue was a big color, or Tiffany blue was a big color last year. But I really think this one is going to be one that can stand the test of time. Not only is it a little bit different, but I think that the legibility on this one was also the best. So one of the reasons why I got this is that the subdials are black, and so is the slide rule bezel. And as you can see, there's a lot going on with this watch, and that can be a distraction. Now, the classic original version has the black dial with the white subdials and slide rule. To be honest, when you take a look at that, to me, it's just honestly confusing. And I've done a review on that on this channel before, and you guys can check that out. But I really thought when you take a look at this, it's a time-only watch until you're really wanting to look at the other functions of it. Let me know in the comments if you guys think the same. I've gotten some good feedback when I've talked to certain collectors that have bought this watch too, and it's not the reason why they bought it, but once I said it to them, it completely made sense. Another huge feature of this watch, and there is some drawbacks to it, but it is the B01 movement. This is the in-house Breitling caliber that is fitted with all their in-house chronographs. This has a 70-hour power reserve, and it is very accurate, very reliable. One thing that is really interesting about this watch, and you would think that other manufacturers like Rolex and Omega would be doing this, but they don't, is that when the minute hand crosses midnight, this hour jumps immediately. And I'll show you guys. There we go. We got it. So it definitely is apparent that it's been given a lot of work into, and it's definitely been a movement that I've enjoyed wearing. Now let's talk about the slide rule bezel, because I know that that is a huge reason why people buy this watch. This can do a lot of calculations, multiplication, division, but more importantly for pilots, they can calculate fuel usage, rate of climb or descent, distance traveled. It does conversions. You're not limited by the amount of calculations that you can do with this watch. So it's really easy to just have on the wrist, turn a little bit and go. One of the things that you'll only know if you get hands-on with this watch is when you turn the slide rule bezel, it has a little bit of resistance at first, and that is to keep it from moving at will, like when you brush up against something. But once you get it going, it's really fluid to keep it moving, which has been a nice experience. But I'll show you guys just a quick multiplication and division calculation on this if you're interested in how it works. So as you can see, I'll use the pen right here. We are going to put this 10 right over the 20. And what we're going to be doing is we're telling the slide rule to calculate or to divide 10 by 20. And the answer should be half. And as you can see right here through this constant, you look over and we have half, 50%. Something else that we can do is we can do multiplication. So we're going to put the 12 over this constant, which is the 10, and we're going to multiply 12 by 5, and we get 60. And so those are just two really basic calculations that you can do with this watch, but it gives all the viewers just a really good understanding of how it works in a very simple concept. The next part about this watch that I've really enjoyed over the last year, and it's probably the reason why I've worn it the most, is the comfort of the leather strap. So Breitling, in my opinion, does the best job at this price point of providing leather straps. It could be an easy way out for a lot of brands to not have to manufacture metal bracelets, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But Breitling, I think more than any other brand, like I said, around this price point, people prefer buying these on leather straps compared to metal bracelets. It's very cushiony, very comfortable to wear, and didn't take very long to kind of form and fit to my wrist. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about with the user review, and I know this might be important for a lot of collectors out there. Everyone's bought a watch before, worn it for a year, and then all of a sudden it looks nowhere near like it did in its new condition. If you notice, not only this watch has a leather strap, so you're not going to pick up scuffs, scratches, just from daily wear. Take a look at the dial of this watch, the face. It is surface to surface sapphire crystal. You're not going to see scratches on this part of your watch, and you won't pick up very many right here. This is a very, very nice brush finish, and you don't see a lot of people banging their watches on the side. It usually happens on bezels, and it's usually happening on metal bracelets. So this watch for many, many, many years is going to look in fantastic condition. So if that's something that matters to you, which it matters to me, this is a great option for you. So just to recap, we're going to go over the quick pros and cons. So the 4 pros we have is the accuracy and reliability, the comfort of wearing this watch on the leather strap, the multiple colorway options that are available, and also sizes, so it can fit a lot of different people's wrists, and the function of the slide rule bezel. Some of the cons is that this is kind of high for a retail price at $9,300 for the leather strap and $9,700 for the metal bracelet. It competes with a lot of watches that are very comparable for lower price points. So that's something to consider buying into the Breitling Navitimer. The other one is this yellow underbelly of the strap. As comfortable as the strap is, I think it could be improved by having this black for some of the models. I know yellow is Breitling's color, but it doesn't really match a lot of the different colorways on the watches. So it'd be nice to have kind of like an option to be able to have the classic yellow or go with the black. And then the last is the lack of finishing on the B01 movement. As you can see, the rotor is slightly finished, but outside of that, there's not really much going on. So, for a watch of this price point with an in-house movement, you would expect more than what you have on here. If they're going to have the exhibition case back, so it would be something that I would say could definitely be improved. Like I said, at this price point, there's some things you just start expecting. Finishing on the movement is one of those. So let's go into some specs on this watch now that we're past the review. This specific model with the copper dial is the 43 millimeter. There's a 41 millimeter and a 46 millimeter. The thickness on this is 13.6 millimeters, and we have a 20 millimeter difference between the lugs. So if you did want to get an aftermarket strap, you would have an awful lot of options to be able to do this. We have a 70-hour power reserve on the movement. The chronograph is a quarter-second chronograph with a 30-minute and 12-minute counter. 12-hour counter. And we have a vibration of 4 hertz. Let's give you an example of the usage of the chronograph. I'm sure you can hear on the video, it's a very solid click. It is a little difficult to push in to get started, but that is to be expected with watches of this caliber. This shouldn't be firing on accident. It should be very purposeful. Now, to be able to stop it, it's a much easier force than it is to be able to start it, which is very nice. So to summarize, the Breitling Navitimer, excellent watch. Very happy with it. I purchased it almost on an impulse buy, and I didn't know how I would feel about it almost a year later. But as you can tell from this review, I'm extremely happy with it. And anyone that is interested in buying a chronograph really needs to put this side by side with other watches they're buying. When I bought this one, I had it next to the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, and I had it next to the IWC Portugueser chronograph. And as you can see, this is the one I went with. I thought it just had much more character. It had, I think, more function than all the other ones, and it was much more comfortable. So that's it. If you guys like this video, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It really does help the growth of it. And if there's any other watches you guys want to see reviewed, please put a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.